don't think they're sick, can't get tested, so they're just going out in public and putting others at risk. Personal responsibility is truly out the door at this point in time. I mean, like I said, this is my own husband with a high-risk daughter at home who like I said, he's isolating in the master bedroom, and I'm still arguing as to what 10 days means. He tested positive still at day 5, and this is someone in his own home that he could be putting at risk. So others out there, they're not doing it. So thank you, Dr. Hughes, for what you're trying to do, because it absolutely at this point in time needs to be done.
Thank you, Tracy.
Who's next?
I see Angie.
Was Angie or Cindy next? Does it matter?
Angie, I think, was, and then Cindy.
How do you make it go?
Go ahead, Angie. There you go.
Hi, Angie.
Hi. I just wanted to thank Dr. Hughes for putting this out there. And
Angie, I'm sorry to interrupt. Would you state your last name, please?
I'm sorry, Angela Gleason.
Thank you.
Yep. I just wanted to thank you for putting this out there. My daughter goes to Millard, and it has been terrifying for us. We have a son with a disability, and we don't need more disabilities in our house. We don't want to have long COVID with our kids. We don't want our kids to have diabetes because they caught this disease. There's so many reasons this is needed, and I appreciate this so much. And I want you to know that there are so many people that support you and feel like this is what our city needs right now, at least until cases start to decline, because it's been exponential, and it's frightening to watch. And it's frightening to have leaders that don't do anything and don't want to do anything and think it's just going to go away on its own. It's not going away on its own. So I just wanted to say I really, truly appreciate this from the bottom of my heart, and for my family and for everybody else's family in Omaha. This is really needed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is Cindy, is it Maxwell? Mm-hmm. Maxwell?
Hi, I'm Cindy Maxwell Ostick, and I wanted to just thank Director Hughes for what it sounds like she's going to be implementing later today. I am a parent of 3 kids that attend Millard Public Schools. I'm sorry, did I need to give my address?
No, that's fine.
I apologize.
No, you're
okay.
Fine.
But I live in Millard, and I have 3 kids that attend Millard Public Schools, and they were on remote learning all last year. We have a family member with an underlying condition. And this year they've been attending in person because they were able to get vaccinated at the end of May last year, because they're in that 12 to 15 age group. They wear masks to school, but they're among the extreme minority. The majority of students, teachers, staff do not wear masks in Millard, and the superintendent and Board of Education has declared that they will not order a mask mandate unless it was mandated by law, I think, from the city or the county. My kids' immunity has been waning, and we were so glad last week that the CDC made that 12 to 15 age group eligible for boosters on Wednesday, and our kids were given their shots on Thursday. And I have to think, though, about all the students whose parents choose not to do that, or if they've not been able to get boosted yet. And then, of course, all the kids under 5. So it's been very frustrating to watch what's been happening at our state level, and then, nothing happening at the county or the city. The school board saying that the city needs to do it, and the city saying that there's nothing happening at the state, so it's personal responsibility. And it's, as a parent, very, very concerning, because we see these reports, like we're watching what the Douglas County Health Department put out the other day. Our hospitals are at like 96% full, and even the pediatric number was like 80-something%. And we have to do something, and we're asking you, please, to support the director, whatever we need to do to get this to happen and try to slow this down, so that if any of us get sick with something else, or if our children are in a car accident, or what other things could happen, that the hospitals will be there to take care of them. I have friends who are in the healthcare industry, and they're at their max, And I know that teachers have asked for their elected officials to make something happen as well. So we just want to say thank you. I'm here today to just ask you to please do whatever you can so that we can try to get through this surge and then hopefully get to the other side and truly get to some sort of normal. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen, I think there was one other hand. No?
That's all.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone here in the chamber regarding this agenda item? Larry?
Larry Store, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. Sure seemed to me like she went more than 5 minutes. But I'd like to ask you to finish up my previous thing that I got cut off on. Under what authority does she think she has the authority? The Constitution does not cover it. The state constitution does not cover it. The state has not passed a law. You have not passed a law, and the city has not passed a law. You are usurping the powers and my power as a citizen, a voter. I should be able to vote on this. But you people in the city doesn't want to take responsibility. So you're playing a little game here with, while one hand's busy doing the card shuffle, the other hand does something else. The mayor makes it sound like, well, if she doesn't do it, I will. But I was against the mask ordinance. My foot. This is a scam. It's a rush to democracy, the crowd power, the powers of the passions of the crowd rule. The majority rule, the simple majority. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not a democracy. The simple majority does not rule. And finally, is not Douglas County, the city of Omaha, within Douglas County? Does Douglas County have more legal power than the city does? If anybody needs to be passing this and take responsibility for it, let the people vote. It should be this body, not the city, not her. I get a chance to vote, and every other citizen should also. And the remarks that she has made sounds an awful lot to me like Neville Chamberlain says, peace in our time. Hitler says, I promise to be good. Froggy the Gremlin says, I'll be good, I will. And now we have, I promise that it'll be temporary. Well, that's what Hitler told a lot of people that died. Thank you.
Yeah. With that, I see no other lights or hands. Lindsay, I do want to commend you on the work that you and your staff have done during this pandemic. I know it has been horrific, to say the least. I also want to put a message out there to our healthcare workers. When this pandemic started, they were deemed our heroes. And in my eyes, they still are, because they're still there. As frustrated and tired and hard as this is for all of them, they're still there, and we thank them for that. So again, I appreciate everything you've done. I know that there are always 2 sides, 3 sides, 4 sides to a story, to an issue. But with this one, I really hope that people can look past the political piece of this and look at the human piece of this. And let's do this for our fellow man and woman and child. Let's do this for the healthcare workers. Let's get past this. Let's beat it. Let's do this together. And so again, thank you very much for what you all do, and please extend that to your staff as well.
Thank you, I will.
Thank you. With that, we will move to our committees. Our first is our finance. We have the budget report as presented. And then we do have a series of ARPA funding approvals, and I know there are some people here for each of these items that would like to say a few words. I also want to make a note on these ARPA fundings, if the clerk can make a note that each one of these should have a clause within when there's a motion made, if we can talk about adding the language, and the chair of this board is authorized and directed to execute whatever documents are necessary to effectuate this resolution. That was just inadvertently left out. I'll hand that to you. It was just asked that I have the clerk put that in there.
So with any motion, or Madam Chair, for any motion or second, it's just assume that that's included in it.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
sounds good.
For just these ARPA
funds.
items,
Okay.
yes. So Commissioner Kavanaugh, did I miss your light from the
line so that we have consistency here? In each of these, I believe, or in a lot of them anyhow, there's going to be a proportion of the overall expenditure that would come out of an individual commissioner's set aside of $2.5 million. If we could have that reflected in the record so that people can know going forward. I know that I am, along with Commissioner Boyle, contributing to the IB Black Girls Fund, and I'd like that noted. But in each of these, because I don't see it on here in the backup documents, I don't see it. So, Joe, maybe you could help us with that if you know.
I know what they are. Joe, I can do it when I do each one. That's fine.
Thank you.
So the first is our ARPA funding approval of a resolution authorizing the award of $27,000 in ARPA funds to the organization Respect to enable the development and implementation of interactive educational theater programs for children which address mental health issues. This is coming out of my allocation, my investing in this program. When we do, this has been through the process of our ARPA conversation, and the board has agreed to send it through Deloitte. Deloitte has approved it, and it is now here for approval from this board. I will be stating that when the motion and second is made for this and the vote is taken, I will be abstaining because I am on this board, which I made public when we started to talk about this agenda item at the ARPA meeting. Respect individuals are not here today, but I can get any and all information if you do have any follow-ups that you need from this organization. But with that, again, it's a $27,000 investment in to Respect out of my commissioner's allocation. So with that, is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, seconded by Commissioner Rogers. Any further questions or comments? Vote.
Commissioner Boyle? Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Yes. Commissioner Morgan? Yes. Commissioner Rogers? Yes. Madam Chair?
Abstain.
Motion passes, 6 voting yes, Commissioner Morganson abstaining.
Thank you. The next is approval of a resolution authorizing the award of $140,689 for a 3-year period for a total of $422,067 to Reconnect, Inc., to fund the operations of a day reporting program to provide a continuum of care for youth who struggle with behavioral issues associated with mental health. Levon Stennis from Reconnect, Inc. is here to say a few words as stuff is being passed out. This allocation, this investment is being taken out of my commissioner's allocation and invested in Reconnect, Inc. Good morning,
Good morning.
Levon.
My name is Levon Stennis Williams, 1941 South 42nd Street, Suite 502. Commissioner Borgeson, I would like to thank you as well as other commissioners for making this investment into our program. We go beyond just the day reporting, as you know, and Commissioner Rogers know from the years that you have worked with our program. What this funding will allow us to do is expand our capacity to reflect what we have seen emerging needs in serving youth and families. Some of the highlights from this program, if you can please excuse the typo that's in the flyer, it's being reprinted. But what we're doing is giving parents a resource that they can access 24/7 to address issues that we saw, especially during COVID, of parents just becoming overwhelmed with parenting and oftentimes calling the police because they had nobody else to call. And so when you call the police and you become a chronic caller, you're not solving your problem, you're making it worse, because at some point that call could escalate into a kid being arrested unnecessarily. So what this does is provide proper intervention so parents will have 24/7 access to a trained professional that will be able to help them address issues and then hopefully get them into our program the next day. Some of the highlights I would like for you to understand about the program is, though, now we'll be able to have a therapist on board that will be able to meet with the parents and the kids, and for peer mediation, for parent mediation, to make referrals on to higher level of assessments if needed. The other is that it's going to allow us to serve non-system involved kids. Currently, most parents have access to services once their kid become involved in the system. At that point, it's too late. So this will allow intervention before that for kids who are just experiencing risk factors or behaviors that make them vulnerable to system involvement. We'll also be able to do assessments, and I asked you to look at those 7 questions at the intake. Those are very key, and they're taken from a national assessment tool that will allow you to determine whether a kid is involved in violent behavior. Sometimes a kid's behavior currently might not reflect that, but just these 7 questions, if a kid scores, they're scored in points of 1. If you score 2 or higher, that means your child is probably involved in a violent criminal behavior that may be involving a gun. We hope to get this assessment tool into the hands of emergency room doctors, pediatricians, coaches, and anyone else who serve high-risk kids, because we know that this is going to work if we're able to identify earlier on if that kid is involved in behaviors so they can be then paired with the right sources. Finally, the helpline.
It was just somebody having to
Excuse
mute.
me. The 24/7 helpline is probably the biggest game changer in terms of parents having access. And starting on the 17th, we're going to have billboards all over the community, and we're also going to be going and engaging in very intensive outreach to make sure parents are aware of this. This does not compete with any other services out there, such as the Boys Town Hotline. It complements those efforts by having trained, culturally competent telephone people who now will be able to answer these calls and address the concerns that parents who live in these high zip code areas, high targeted, high risk areas, will now be able to have culturally competent support and resources referred to them. So again, thank you, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
With that, do I have a motion to approve this ARPA funding resolution? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. And again, just thank you, Levon. I know the one thing that I've always appreciated is not only the work and the passion that you have, but the willingness to continue to move the dial with us as we look at our juvenile issues and see what needs to be changed or what needs to be added or what needs, whatever the need is. You're there at the table, and we appreciate that. And so I'm happy to invest this in out of my allocation. So thank you. Commissioner Maureen Boyle.
Yeah, I just want to thank Ms. Stennis Williams. The programs that you have are absolutely innovative, and so we really have to acknowledge your willingness to be involved in the community like this. You are providing services that really just aren't out there, and willing to put yourself out on a limb and start things where you may not have the path completely drawn out, but you're just trying to make a big difference in the lives of really folks who may not have a place to turn or not know how to get their families on track. So I just want to acknowledge you publicly to say that I think you really are one of our local heroes, and I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, vote please.
Commissioner Boyle? Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Yes. Commissioner Morgan? Yes. Commissioner Rogers? Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we have an approval of a resolution authorizing the award of $1.5 million in ARPA funds to Madonna Rehabilitation Hospitals to help develop a model system of care to address the long-term mental health and physical effects of COVID-19. This is being invested from the allocations of Commissioner Morgan and Commissioner Friend. And do we have a motion to approve? Second. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Friend. And I believe that the Madonna folks are on Zoom here. If they would like to say a few words.
Can you guys unmute, please?
There we go.
Once again, we want to thank the commissioners for entertaining our request. We're very thankful for that. I think we've heard today the prevalence of COVID is increasing, and our request really tries to deal with both the immediate impact of the virus as well as the long-term consequences. We often say that acute care hospitals save a life. Once that life is saved, Madonna then helps put that life back together. So we'll deal with those consequences of the virus, helping folks regain their function, their cognitive skills, their addressing mental health issues, and hopefully integrating them back into the workforce and back into their communities.
Sir, could you just state your name for the record? We missed it when we were trying to get unmuted here.
Yes, Paul Donjoy.
Thank you.
DOA.
All right, any other comments from anyone there in the room? Okay. There is a motion and a second. Please vote.
Commissioner Boyle? Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Yes. Commissioner Friend? Yes. Commissioner Garcia? Yes. Commissioner Morgan? Yes. Commissioner Rogers? Yes. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Next is an approval of a resolution authorizing the award of $400,000 in ARPA funds to the Voice Advocacy Center to provide financial support for special education advocacy, dyslexia screening, tutoring, and reentry program for youth detained in our Douglas County Youth Center. This investment is being made out of the allocations of Commissioner Morgan and Commissioner Friend. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Morgan. And with us today, do you want to come down, Clarice, and say a few words?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Clarice Jackson, 8110 Girard Plaza. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Commissioner Borgeson, first and foremost. She's been leading the charge on dyslexia and specifically the correlation to youth who are detained in the detention center. So I want to appreciate her first and foremost. Also, all of the commissioners, PJ Morgan, Mike Friend, Chris Rogers, Roger Garcia, and Maureen Boyle. I appreciate you all giving this serious consideration. I have been advocating and raising awareness and trying to help those who struggle to read, write, and spell, which is the most common reason why people struggle to do that is due to dyslexia. And so this particular funding is significant. We know that with COVID, and a lot of conversation has been had today about COVID, that for children in education, there's been a lot of educational loss and learning loss. And that was already happening prior to COVID. Prior to COVID, in 2019, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP, 2019 scores for literacy were still significantly below what they should be, specifically for minority families who we know make up the majority of those who are detained in the youth detention center as well. The scores for fourth grade Black students in the state in 2019 prior to COVID were only 12% in fourth grade proficiency, or minimum standards, as you will, basic. And then the scores go down even further when they get to eighth grade to only 15%, sorry, I'm confusing them. 15% for fourth grade, and then they go down to 12% for eighth grade. So that means that 88 and 85% of Black students in the state are below basic in reading. And we know that literacy intersects with health, crime, teen pregnancy, poverty, and so on and so on. And we know statistically and data-wise that when we offer the programs such as the ones that my center offers, that the recidivism rate for those who happen to be incarcerated drops from 70% to 16%. And so I appreciate you all hearing the request, acknowledging it, and making this contribution to the work that we do. Thank you for sponsoring this, Commissioner Morgan and Commissioner Friend.
Thank you, Clarice. Commissioner.
Yes.
For your
Commissioner Morgan.
briefing too that you gave when we met with you. And
Yes,
we'll
thank
talk
you.
more in the future too.
Absolutely.
Okay. With that, we do have a motion and a second. Vote.
Commissioner Boyle? Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Yes. Commissioner Morgan? Yes. Commissioner Rogers? Yes. Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Clarice. Approval of a resolution authorizing the award of $77,985 in ARPA funds to Angel Guardians to provide community training in the system focused on best practices for incident prevention and de-escalating situations. This investment is being made out of the allocation of Commissioner Friend, and I think there is someone online, but is there a motion to approve? Okay. Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Rogers. And Commissioner Friend, did you have someone here?
Yes. Executive Director of Angel Guardians, Sam Comfort, is on, I believe.
Okay, great. Mr. Comfort, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Sam Comfort, 2932 South 113th Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68144. Very thankful for this opportunity. We've seen COVID dramatically increase the social isolation for people with intellectual or developmental disabilities. The mission of Angel Guardians is to positively impact the lives of these individuals. Unfortunately, in early September, we saw in the community a young person lose their life due to inappropriate restraints, inappropriate interaction in a state of escalation. Our goal is to train community members on how to interact appropriately, not just with people with disabilities when in a state of escalation, but with the general community as well, through the MANT system, which is a nationally recognized system. Our goal is to train 400 people in the community on those best practices and those procedures to help de-escalate, invite a person to enter a place where they feel comfortable and safe in order to avoid serious, deadly things like this from ever happening again in the Omaha community.
Wonderful, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner, oh, okay, okay. There is a motion and a second. Please vote.
Commissioner Boyle? Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Comfort. Approval of resolution authorizing the award of $715,000 in ARPA funds to IB Black Girl to fund the Black Maternal Health Program, including the Community Health Worker Doula Program. This investment is being made out of Commissioner Maureen Boyle and Commissioner Kavanaugh's allocation of funds. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, seconded by Commissioner Boyle. And Commissioner Boyle, I think you have, is there someone here from IB Black Girl?
Yes, yes. So I have Ashley Spivey here. She's the director and CEO of IB Black Girl, and so she has to describe her program a little bit and why it's important that they receive funding.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I first want to acknowledge that in October, you all signed a proclamation naming Douglas County Black Maternal Health Month, and so that was really our first touch and intention of really making sure that Black birth equity is addressed here in Douglas County. And I also want to acknowledge some of our board members that are here as well that help us do this great important work. And so our goal at IB Black Girl is to create space for Black women, femmes, and girls to access and reach our full potential. And we know that Black women and birthing people are 3 to 4 times more likely to die during childbirth than our white counterparts. And these same outcomes happen to our infants and our babies families within that first year. And so the work of this program is to really acknowledge the core root issues, which are preventable, of why we die during childbirth, why we die after, why we have these near-death experiences, and why our children are not able to thrive. And so some of the funding will go to a doula program, which we know doulas help to minimize some of those negative outcomes that we are seeing. They provide power and choice and a strong resource for Black birthing people. So we will do some training with that funds. We will also make sure that doulas are accessible. They cost money. They're currently not reimbursed through any kind of insurance. And so people don't have access to that kind of resource. And so we'll make sure that Black birth workers, including doulas, lactation consultants, and even paying for co-pays, are able to happen through that fund, as well as continue our coalition building with key partners like Nebraska Medicine, City Match, March of Dimes, and so on. And we're just, again, really excited that we have this opportunity to change the outcomes for Black birthing people here in Douglas County with your investment.
Thank you very much. And there was a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle, did you have anything further you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm just really glad to be contributing to this. As an OBGYN, I see the disparities in maternal and infant health in the Black community. It is a race issue, even though it's not intentional. Sometimes it's a systemic thing, and we need to address it. I see this as an important vehicle, mostly because it's directed by the folks who need the care the most, instead of someone like me walking in and saying, I see that you need this. I feel like Ashley and her group are going to be the best at recognizing what those needs are, identifying them, and then reaching out to the community itself to say, this is what we need from you. And so I'm looking forward to actually collaborating in my other job, the doctor job, to work with Ashley and everyone else to help improve the health of women and birthing people in the Black community, especially in Omaha.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Boyle. Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Thank you. I'd like to echo the sentiments of my colleague, Dr. Boyle, and say that as a son and a husband and a father, I think that we can't do enough to eliminate the disparity, and particularly infant mortality in our community, between the minority population and the majority population. It's scandalous. And what you're doing, I hope, has a direct impact on that, so that we can see going forward how we can make that better using these resources and the program that you've outlined, which is creative, innovative, and the right thing at the right time. So thanks for doing this. I'm happy to participate and support what you're doing, and I look forward to hearing about your successes going forward. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you both for your support.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, Commissioner Boyle. Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh.
Yes.
Commissioner Friend.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The last item under Finance Committee is a resolution authorizing an addendum to the Deloitte work order to continue to provide current ARPA services until May 26, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Rogers. Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Just quickly, we discussed this in the pre-board meeting yesterday relative to, this is a continuation in time, but not an increase in money. Is that correct? I see that Mr. Lorenz is nodding vigorously in the audience. So there was an unexpended balance of, I believe, about $87,000 in the contract that was previously approved. And this expands the period of time for that expenditure to June of 2022. Is that correct?
May 26.
May 26, sorry. The termination of the ARPA window, basically.
Right.
Not an increase in the compensation to Deloitte for the services they provide.
No.
Thank you.
And it's May 26, 2022.
May 26, 2022.
Right.
Okay.
Date specific.
Sorry.
Yep. All right, with that, no other questions. Please vote.
Commissioner Boyle. Yes. Commissioner Kavanaugh. Yes. Commissioner Friend.
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes.
Commissioner Morgan.
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers. Yes. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next under committees is the Human Resources, the weekly personnel report from Civil Service as presented. And under legislative issues in your packet, you do have the first report from our lobbyist. But to get you up to date, there have been 271 new bills introduced as of the date of today. More to come today, I'm sure. There's 3 days left for introduction of new bills. Key points is they've already started the debate yesterday on the inheritance tax. There's a lot of movement and conversation about adjusting the rates and the amounts and whether repealing it or not repealing it down the road. So there's a lot going on with that one. Our open meetings legislation bill was introduced, and so we're excited to watch that move through. So again, we'll continue to monitor this as we go. And for now, that's kind of the biggie. The inheritance tax is the biggie one for right now. So with that, I have no other legislative. Larry?
Larry Storer, 5015 Lafayette Avenue, Omaha, 68132. I want to quickly finish up on my earlier remarks, but it is in the emails.
Not if it's not legislation.
The links are all, I'm talking about the Convention of States. They're
Okay.
talking about it today, the state legislature, again today.
Yep.
Now, let me finish, please. This is my time.
Larry, I was.
It is in the
specifying it
Constitution.
was
Article 5 is
order.
in the Constitution, okay? They're voting on it today. They're probably going to kill it today because of some slight tricks. But every one of you elected bodies and every citizen is bound to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Therefore, Article 5 is legitimate. It is not a constitutional convention, or the Founding Fathers would have said so. It is your duty to support Article 5. It is therefore your duty to let the legislatures know today, under your legislative agenda and your lobbyists, that they will support Article 5 and pass it this year, not influenced by outside sources that do not belong in Nebraska, even if they do have a branch office right across the street from the legislature, such as Common Cause. They are progressive, the modern term for Marxist. And these people are have all defeated it time after time after time on the lie that it is a constitutional convention, that you cannot control it. That's not true. You need to read the Founding Fathers. And finally, if you don't, and if they don't pass it this year, then you should all step down for not honoring your own oath. But the people, when you read Article 5, it expresses that the Congress and the state legislatures have the ability to propose only amendments. What it does not say specifically, but it is implied if you read the Founding Fathers, is that the Convention of States is by the people, not the legislatures, and not Congress. That is our avenue for petitioning our government. It is our avenue for throwing off that government, altering that government, or changing that government, expressed in the Constitution. Therefore, it's your duty. Let's open this up for discussion and education. We need full debates, not cutting people off at 5 minutes. But before you have that, you need to read the Founding Fathers on those topics. Let's start now, because the citizens are going to start with our own petition, because obviously our government has gone awry. And one of the things in the convention petition, I don't agree with the whole thing, but that's their petition, is to rein in spending. Now, please explain to me how we can run off to Washington and get all this money. What are we going to do if we need to fight a war? Why should people be getting money for physical plant? That type of thing. They're running in and stealing our money that I paid through taxes over 60 years, maybe more than 60 years. How about you? You feel like having your money stolen? Support Article 5 and say so today. Thank you.
Next is a resolution approving the non-union nursing management pay. Oh, sorry.
I just have a question,
Yep.
a correction, I'm
Yep.
sorry. Marcus C. Martin, Douglas County Intergovernmental. So I was just going to say, so it's new bill introduction, first 10 days of the legislature. That'll run through January 20th. That's going to be the last day to introduce new bills. So we're currently on day 5 right now, but it's actually legislative days. So that takes us, they have designated the 12th, 13th, 18th, 19th, and 20th as legislative days. So just making that correction, that's all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next is a resolution approving non-union nursing management pay plan. Is there a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Commissioner Kavanaugh?
People watching can understand, this is a resolution to spend some money to compensate our health services personnel. As you heard earlier, we're stretched to the limit because of the pandemic on health services. So this is for ongoing nursing management compensation in the amount of $140,000 in fiscal year 21-22 for the classifications of house supervisor, nurse manager, and relief house supervisor, all of which are pretty close to frontline healthcare providers in Douglas County. And we've done a similar compensation increase for premium pay for health care providers in the same organization who belong to a collective bargaining unit. This is for those who do not. And I think it's appropriate at this time that we help these folks who are heroes in the fight against the pandemic. And this is a good way to do that. So I support this.
No other questions or comments? Please vote.
Commissioner Boyle? Commissioner Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Rogers? Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
We do have need for an executive session, litigation, and union negotiations. And before we go in, I just want to announce that the Douglas County offices will be closed Monday, January 17th, in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and that the county board will not meet on Tuesday, January 18th. The next scheduled meeting for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will be Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. So with that, nope, Teresa?
Oh, Teresa, York County Attorney's Office. We may need a legal advice, so if you wouldn't mind adding that to the list.
So
Please and thank you.
litigation, union negotiations, and legal advice.
Thank you so much.
Okay. No. Is there a motion? Commissioner Rogers, and then seconded by Commissioner Morgan. Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Boyle? Commissioner Kavanaugh? Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Morgan?
Yes.
Commissioner Rogers? Madam Chair?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.